Hi, you're listening to a free preview of The Dark Side of Midnight, a novel by Tay Fox, voiced by AI. This is Chapter 3. If you haven't listened to Chapter 1, hit pause and click on the link in the description for the first video. Please like and click subscribe so you can be notified when more chapters are posted. This book will be available April 24th, 2024 on Amazon. Check the description for links and more information. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Chapter 3. It hadn't taken much persuading to leave my entire life behind with the promise of living rent-free with Catherine and her sons. Why not? It's not like my life could get any worse. I quit my job since they wouldn't accept me working part-time. So jobless and without a penny to my name, I took a blind leap in hopes it might change everything for the better. When I called to accept her offer, Catherine excitedly told me about her family. The twins, Kane and James, were 23, 2 years older than me. Jasper, the youngest of the siblings, was 18. The city fell behind me as I headed for the opposite side of Thornhill. I packed my belongings, which wasn't much, everything worth keeping fit, into a suitcase. The taxi turned down a gated driveway lined with hedges toward a towering mansion, with white columns flanking the double wood doors. Wow. My mouth gaped in awe at the estate that I'd call home. My mom wasn't exaggerating when she said that the house was massive. They must be freaking loaded. At the end of the driveway, 2 guys buffed black and yellow sports cars. They paused and watched as the driver unloaded my bag from the trunk. "Sir." Catherine waved from the front door and called my name as she hurried toward me, her smile gleaming brighter than the sunshine.
"Welcome. You made it. You're finally here."
"Thank you, I'm so grateful for your help." I relaxed into her hug.
"Oh, Ella, the boys can help,"
she said as I reached for my suitcase. "It's okay, I got it." I extended the handle to tow it behind me. The wheels rumbled over the asphalt. I followed Catherine to the edge of the driveway, closer to the tanned, shirtless teen buffing a matte black sports car. From Catherine's stories, I guessed he must be Jasper, the youngest of her sons. His hair looked windblown and wild, his muscles flexed as he wiped the car dry with the rag.
"Where are the twins?"
Catherine asked. A dark-haired guy stood from behind a yellow sports car. Damn. He was the refined version of his wilder-looking younger brother. The rolled cuffs of his white-collared shirt contrasted his tanned forearms. Black groomed facial hair darkened his angular jaw. One of his thick eyebrows rose, and his lip curled at the corner into a smirk. Duplicate cobalt stares framed by thick midnight lashes traveled the length of me. I took in the boys, their luxury sports cars, and the enormous house. No, it was more like a palace. Somehow I'd landed into a fairy tale.
"Who's she?"
Jasper popped his chin in my direction.
"Please forgive my boys, Briella."
Her shrewd gaze cut through me, though I was sure it was meant for them. I squeezed the handle of the suitcase as I lost a few inches to their icy, hostile silence. My head tilted to the side, and I raised a hesitant hand to greet them. But it was clear they weren't happy to meet me.
"They're forgetting their manners. Where's your brother?"
Catherine scowled at the older brother. Her manicured fingers wrapped around her waist. The older brother pointed at the teen.
"Jasper's right here."
"James."
Catherine enunciated, exasperated.
"Where's James?"
She sighed before she pulled out her cell phone and held it to her ear.
"Darling, can you meet us in the driveway? There's someone
Catherine smiled at me.
I'd like you to meet."
I returned a grin. If James was on the phone, then the older brother in front of us was Kane. It wasn't long before the third brother approached from around the side of the house. For a twin, he looked nothing like his brother. Unlike the jet-black hair of the other 2 boys, his was chestnut. His muscular arms stretched the sleeves of his blue t-shirt, tucked in at the front of his jeans behind a big oval belt buckle. His palms scrubbed the brown stubble on his chiseled jaw. Aside from a birthday, the twins didn't appear to have any similarities. He looked rugged and less GQ than Kane, but just as lucky in the Hollywood looks department. He crossed his arms over his broad chest. The Gene Fairy was generous with these 3. They all looked as if they'd walked off the pages of a Cosmo fragrance advertisement. My heart thundered in my chest, and I wiped my palms on my ripped jean shorts. They were nothing like I'd imagined. Breathe, Ella. Breathe, I reminded myself.
James. There you are.
Catherine said. James's mouth twitched into a momentary half-smile. I glanced at my shoes, away from his gaze that left a raging fire across my cheeks.
Now that you're all here,
Catherine paused and smiled.
I'd like you to meet Briella.
Forced to lift my head, I pursed my lips tightly, wishing I could melt into the asphalt. Catherine clutched her hands together, looking at me, her eyes sparkling with emotion.
Briella is Anne's daughter. Like I mentioned, she's come to live with us.
Her voice loaded with promise and joy, as if she were telling the boys they were all getting new hot rods.
Anne, the dead housekeeper?
Jasper asked, earning him a nasty glare from Catherine and a solid elbow jab from James. Sticks and stones and all that jazz, but that was a zinger that knocked the breath out of me.
For the week?
James asked.
Permanently,
She corrected.
or as long as she wishes.
Once I graduate, I'll get my own place. I couldn't see myself here long. It was obvious I wasn't welcome. When I glanced back at the trio, scowls drew across their faces and I returned a sheepish grin.
Mom, couldn't you adopt a dog instead?
The youngest blue-eyed rebel spat. Kane laughed. Swallowing a lump that formed in my throat, I glanced down at my blue scuffed Converse shoes. I didn't belong here. I was nothing like them.
I think...
James started.
Enough!
She scolded.
This isn't up for discussion. Anne was like family. Anne was always loyal to us, and now it's our turn to return the favour, so Ella is staying with us for as long as she wishes.
And just as quick as the anger flashed, it subsided as she patted her hair back into place. I left everything behind when Catherine promised I could live with her and finish my criminal justice degree, something that was impossible to achieve on my own. I could hardly afford a roof over my head, let alone tuition. There was one thing I was sure of: no matter what, I wouldn't screw up this opportunity. None of the boys said another word. 3 gorgeous dagger stares warned I was not welcome. But not a shred of me cared in that moment how they felt.
Ah, so...
She clasped her hands together, speaking in a cheery tone as if she'd completely dismissed the last 2 minutes.
These are my boys.
She raised her hand to point to the youngest.
Jasper.
She pointed to the taller black-haired brother.
Kane.
Then to the older brown-haired sibling.
And James.
She's a liability to the estate.
Kane growled.
Since when did you care about the estate?
James retorted. Kane's lip twisted into a snarl.
Enough!
Catherine growled. She looked pained, as if their cruel words slashed her own flesh.
Go!
She said, sweeping her hand through the air.
Ella, I'll show you your room.
I nodded. Catherine started toward the front door. As I followed, Kane kicked the bucket of soapy water onto the driveway, flooding my path. I sidestepped, bumping into my suitcase, and the stream of sudsy water flooded over my canvas shoes.
Accident.
He called out, raising his palms. I fought tears when the boys laughed. They hated me. But they didn't even know me. Water sloshed between my toes with each stride as I jogged to catch up with Catherine. I'm sorry, I said as we reached the house. I couldn't help but feel that I started the war between the siblings and worse, caused Catherine stress.
You have nothing to be sorry for.
Catherine squeezed my shoulders and pulled me into a hug.
They take a while to warm up, and they will. But it will take time.
I struggled to accept that they'd change and accept me. She opened the door and I stood in shock at the massive foyer. Double staircases spiraled to the second floor. Catherine's heels echoed across the marble floor and up beyond the crystal chandelier 30 or 40 feet in the air. The air was scented with the bouquet of white lilies on the circular table in the middle of the foyer. I slipped my wet feet from my canvas shoes and retrieved a fresh pair of socks from my bag, before following her up the stairs to the second floor. We continued down the blue carpet runner along the white paneled hall lined with oil-painted portraits. Some appeared more antique than others, and several were completely nude. She paused at one of the many doors, placed her hand over the handle, and smiled at me.
I was blessed with boys.
As she opened the door, my jaw hung. A pink ruffled quilt lined a plump bed garnished with a mountain of white and gray pillows. Blush drapes hung at the windows and pooled on the floor. She flipped the light switch, and a sparkling gold and crystal chandelier lit the room.
But I've always loved the color pink.
My toes curled in the white plush carpet.
It's small.
She said apologetically. I scoffed quietly. There was nothing small about this room. A whole cheerleading team could practice inside. If I was on a cheerleading team. The girl that I imagined would live in this room was definitely a cheerleader.
If you don't like it, there are other rooms.
She reached toward the light switch. No. I shook my head. I love it. It's perfect. My grin was so wide it hurt. She shrugged, accepting this room wasn't a closet.
Well then, that's settled. It's all yours.
My fingers traced the soft linen ruffles of the comforter and over a snowy faux fur pillow. Holy smokes, I said as I opened the door to a closet the size of my old room. I glanced back at Catherine with a gaping grin. Sorry. I've never seen a closet this huge in my entire life.
I'll leave you to get settled. Make yourself at home. If you need anything, just let me know.
She set my bag beside a French chair embroidered with flowers. Thank you. I squeezed her in a tight hug. At first she was stiff, but she quickly relaxed and hugged me back, loosely at first and tighter before she let go. Her eyes watered, and I fought my own tears. This wasn't a dream. The reality overwhelmed me. Despite her granting me this opportunity, I doubted that she truly grasped the depth of its significance to me, especially now that I had no family. She winked and left me to unpack. I traced my fingers over the spines of each book on the bookshelf, emptied my bag into my closet. Exactly 5 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, and 2 other pairs of shorts. And I realized why I never had a closet that size. There was no way I would ever own enough clothing to fill it. I glanced out the door where mystery whispered from the darkened hallway. A plush carpet runner stretched the length of the hall, flanked by the white-paneled walls, with portraits recording the history of the Wolfe family. I imagined some might have been the previous residents of this mansion. My mother didn't tell me much about the family she worked for, aside from them being incredibly kind but also extremely private. Over the years, I'd learned from the local gossip that they had a secret island and they owned most of the land in the town. Others said they owned a castle. If you listened to the town gossip and whispers, they said they were always in trouble with the law, but Mom said that was hogwash, as she put it. What I did know was they were always generous with Christmas bonuses and weeks off when the family traveled. At the end of the seemingly endless hall of closed doors and down an extensive set of stairs, I found myself in a window-lined room filled with white leather couches and tall vases of feathery pampas grass. The room opened to a bright breakfast nook at the edge of the kitchen. White curtains framing the French doors to the patio rippled in the fresh breeze. My exploration continued to the immaculate backyard where the grass was as pristine as a golf green. At the edge of a patio, a serene turquoise pool stretched the length of the patio. A waterfall poured over landscape rocks and into the water below. I'd always been cautious of open water, especially deep water, because I'd never learned to swim, but something drew me closer. Maybe it was the glass-like water or the tranquil sound of the rushing waterfall. Whatever emboldened me, I wasn't sure. I stood at the edge of the pool and bent a knee to dip my toe into the water. Cool water flooded across the top of my foot as I swirled it in the pool. A smile drew across my face. This was paradise. I couldn't believe my luck that Catherine had found me and persuaded me to stay with her. Relief calmed me, knowing my hardship was over. With her support, I'd finish my degree after all, and then I'd get a good job and afford a place of my own. I was thankful to have found this family. Just as I drew my foot back down for another swish through the water, something shoved my side. All I saw was a navy blur as I fought to catch my balance, but my hips tipped past the ledge and I splashed. Face first into the pool. Thanks for listening to the first chapter of The Dark Side of Midnight, a novel by Tay Fox. If you'd like to listen to more, please subscribe so you'll be notified when more chapters are added.